politics, to the general conversation around politics. So he's simply making a comeback for relevance. But this morning, we just want to weigh the odds. Could the odds be stacked against or for him as the clock ticks towards 2026? What are some of the hurdles that await him? And what does his political comeback, in a sense, mean, one, to the opposition and to the NRM? That and much more will inform our discussion this morning with Honorable Enos Asimwe, Member of Parliament for Kabula County, together with Imam Eid Kasozi, a political analyst and Muslim cleric. A very good morning, Honorable Enos.
Good morning, Simon, and the viewers.
Good to have you. Good morning, Imam. Nice to have you with us.
Good morning to you, good morning to Asimwe, and good morning to everybody that is following Morning Breeze.
Oh, yeah. How significant is the pronouncement by Besigye last week as he embarked on his countrywide tour, consultation of FDC supporters, that he has made a grand return onto the political front line?
The significance may not be easy to tell, and there is no condition that ensures that he's come back, or whether he's coming back or he's just touring to boost the party, that would make a significant impact. I'm not sure. But what we are sure of is that FDC is cracked. And I don't know whether the crack will be really sorted out unless both sides remember that politics has nothing to do with ego, and two, that nobody has people stationed there permanently for him or for them, and that if you're operating in the political field of Uganda, you must be aware that the majority of people in Uganda, especially those who contest for politics, go for politics of positions. They're just interested in achieving positions. Whether the country is sinking, whether there are problems, whether the community is suffering, whether the economy is not doing well, they are not bothered as long as they get the ticket and that ticket lands them a position. That is my observation over time, and that is what has caused the really weakness in political formations and political organizations. The NRM takes the day always because, number one, the head of NRM is always the head of state, and therefore he controls the state coffers in one way or another. And two, he has a wide range of positions to distribute, even when you don't succeed to become an MP, chairman of C5, or any other position you have contested for. He may pick you up and then position you in some place, and you feel comfortable.
As I get to Honorable Asimwe,
yes,
there is a sense that Besigye is filling a void where activism has for a while been in an inertia mode.
I don't really think so. I don't really think so. And I don't think he will pull it off as it were. You see, you know people power. It came, and there was a lot of activism. Where it has ended is another significant thing to look at. It is like...
where has it ended?
You know where it has ended. You know what is happening in Noop. You see, we don't need to hide behind, or to hide our heads in the sand. What is taking place, you see, in Noop, showing that probably even when some responsible people, some elders do advise, the advice is not critically taken. That is a very critical thing. It is like, you see, after NRA had succeeded in a bush war, many people thought they would use rebellion to come to power. They didn't. Why? Because where NRM passed, and after achieving power, people up to now are still in abject poverty. And when people look at what they lost, during the war, then they would say, we don't need to support rebellion again. Okay? We better hang on. That's why you even see some regions which had attempted to be rebellious, over time have all shifted to NRM. From Teso, Karamoja, maybe Lang was not very, Achol sub-region, all of them are now West Nile. Look at all of them. And even previously, their voting pattern was never like that. Why is it like this? Because they are disgusted. And now, activism came, did some work, but the results it is showing does not really bring appetite to many. There are some individuals who will remain, but finally, they will not. You know, for example, I want to give you the recent example when a chap in Inup from Soga region, okay, did blast the Speaker of Parliament for one reason or another. You see what followed. Demonstration against him. Demonstration against him. That is a signal which not very many people will see, but it will need a special brain to contemplate and then say, what is this trend? So, in the short run, excitement may bring certain results, but I don't think activism is taking, it will really be critical. What I think is that what we must do, those who think that we can overpower NRM in terms of political space, we need to go back and think and reorganize ourselves and know what to do, when to do it, how to do it. But if we are only positioning ourselves to get positions, the Baganda say, Muchifuwa mchiza munda.
Well, very good. Honorable Asimwe, do you feel any significance in Besigye's pronouncement that I am back with a bang?
I must look at it in two ways. One, to NRM, yes, we can never underrate Besigye's involvement in opposition politics or active involvement. To the opposition, it's bad news. It's bad news for them. Because for me, the last time actually I was here, I think with Honorable Semaman, I told you, for as long as the opposition is divided, NRM will continue leading the races for the next, I don't know how many years, for as long as they are not organized. Because every time another opposition figure comes onto the scene, they divide their support.
Yeah, but Besigye is not new to this.
No. Look, I believe in numbers. Before Besigye, okay, 2001, 2006, 2011, Besigye's votes were oscillating between, anyway, they were raising from around 2.6 to around 3.5. Actually, around, 3.5. When Honorable Kyagulanyi came onto the scene, he got 3.6 million votes. He only added 100,000 votes, if you can check the results. Meaning that the numbers that have been opposing NRM have not really changed much. The biggest number they have, the maximum they can have is 4.something, 4.2. NRM has had from 5.6, 5.9, and recently to 6 million votes. So that tells you that NRM is not a party to write off, that we cannot have new signings or a new generation coming onto board. But then the chances are that as much as opposition may recruit or have more recruitments, there is no chance that they will change from the 4 million votes they have. So for me, every new force that comes on the opposition side, it's dividing their support. And
to your advantage.
To our advantage. So for as long as NRM has its vote and we wake up and look at the young generation that is coming on board, then we are doing very well. So for me, to the opposition, if Mr. Besigye decides to be on the ballot 2026, that's bad news for them. Because that means he's going to divide their numbers. Though, we also, as NRM, should not take it for granted. Because remember, Besigye's base or political support is also from within the region that has supported us for so many years. Rukunjiri had, in the last 2 or 3 elections, was not supporting us. But then in 2021, they came back to NRM. That means that they were not supporting NRM because their own son, who was Besigye then, who was Mr. Besigye, was in the race. When he went out of the race, they came back to NRM. Chances are that now that he's back, you can see even when he was coming back, he started in Rukunjiri. So chances are that...
No, he started in Jinja.
Oh, sorry then. But I only got to know that he's back when he was in Rukunjiri. But for me, the fact is that when Besigye comes back, he's a disadvantage to the opposition. When he comes back, he might affect NRM, but he may not significantly change much on our side.
Besigye had historically turned certain regions blue. Take, for instance, Kasese, Rukunjiri, Teso, parts of Teso, the north.
Basically, most cities were all blue. But the question is, what are the chances that he will return them? What has changed? By the time he left and now, what has changed? So many things have changed. So many other politicians have come on board. And
does anything suggest to you that Besigye could be more formidable than Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi?
Not really. Okay, at a personal level, yes, Besigye is a better activist than Kyagulanyi. Kyagulanyi is more of a politician. And Besigye is more of, I know it, I've been, the person we are trying to unseat, I've been with him for so many years. I fought with him in the bush. He's more or less my age mate, or I'm slightly younger than him. I understand him better than any of you. So I think he's better placed than Kyagulanyi. But the question is, Besigye's generation, I don't think that he's going to add any generational votes, because the young people see alternatives in Bobi Wine than in Besigye unseating President Museveni. So I don't think, honestly, I don't think Besigye will change much.
Well, Colonel Besigye has characteristically been a face of defiance for all the 2 decades that he's been in politics. With your earlier submission that activism has faded a bit, do you want to suggest that probably even defiance now is no longer as fashionable? There is perhaps need to rethink the strategy.
You see, defiance, activism, these are short-term programs. And because they are short-term, they largely fit among Ugandans. Reason being, the majority of Ugandans are just survivors. They are looking for today's food, mere ya lero. And they are more likely to be excited. But when the matter becomes a bit prolonged and tough, they tend to withdraw. And 2, what the NRM chaps have done also intimidates or scares away people. And they play to the gallery. The way you see the new kid on the globe, on the map, a minister that was unexpected to be, coming up with the idea that he's the one now going to redeem and bring out the people who have been incarcerated for the last 4 years. And he even takes a person to a function where it was less expected. And then when he comes out, he comes to parliament, then the court day comes. And there's nothing much. Really, there is nothing much. All this is decoying. You see, decoying. And President Museveni and his team have mastered it, because they have really looked at the majority of our people here, the way they think, the way they want to survive. As I told you, they're survivors. Then they keep jangling their carrot and stick. In most cases, it is the stick working. Later, when they see things, then they somebody throw carrots, and the people are taken over. It is only the hardened people those who have taken time to think and critically look at some of these matters, who say, wait a bit, what is this new minister of youth? What can he do? Why is it not the Minister of Justice? Why is it not the Minister of Internal Affairs? Because it is in these two areas where, maybe the third one, Minister of Security, where these people who are being incarcerated or detained, or sometimes presumed detained, maybe they may not be detained but being hidden somewhere around, they are there. And then somebody says, I am going to do this one, and everybody gets excited, except very few of us who said, no, where you are going, you see, fortunately for us, I belong to the Muslim community. We have gone through that one, or this one, for a very long time, since 1997. Such a scenarios have occurred. And in the final analysis, after they have intimidated, persecuted, threatened people, everybody now yields or shuns away. That even when there's a matter of national importance, as they call it in the parliament, and you are trying to say it outside the parliament where they have protection, even the people who are suffering will say, why has he said it? Does he want to bring trouble to himself? Not knowing that
So the vigor towards messages of activism is long gone.
I don't see it. I really don't see it. Mjala, I have been here for some time, and I have been active. Okay, I may not be on the front line like many people would like to be seen, but I know I have been active in all of those fronts you are talking about, whether the Muslim community, whether the political organization, whether in civil society, and including the area of academia, where I think ideas should be generating. We should be generating ideas from there so that they help guide this country. But what is happening? Everybody is shy. And why are they shy? Because of the method of work of President Museveni and his team. Okay? 1, they will promise you positions. 2, they will give you unexpected money. 3, they will hit your Congo, I don't know what they call ankles. They will hit them so that they can finally tune you to what they call order, whereas in actual sense is disorder.
So Besigye has now an uphill climb, 1, to dislodge the new political class that has been ushered in by the People Power Movement, and also confront the state, right?
Besigye as a person, I don't doubt him. And I don't doubt his sincerity in what he's trying to do. Because I have also been, somehow, I have interacted with him and I know what fiber he's made of. But some voices in the opposition look at Besigye as a more. The way they looked at my OB, Shamuntu, as a more. The way they are looking at several key NUP MPs who have substance, they're also being looked at as moles. And I have told you, Mr. Museveni, President Museveni, His Excellency, has mastered that game. And he will have people there to ensure that this is done. Something I cannot say here. Recently, I have met with some people who are in business. Okay, they are in business.
Right.
They would be just being in business. But when you say 2, 3 words, they are talking about Saleh. Okay, they talk about how they are redeeming will be in meeting Saleh, and they will trek either to Namukakala, or to Gulu, where he has bases for one reason or another. Or when he was in Kasese, sometimes he was also there, being around there. So there is a way. There is a way. And fortunately, they also positioned him in that position. Recently, he's the one who cloned the new CDF. If you ask yourself, as who? Did you say, even you in the media, did anybody ask as who? I know he's a retired general, but as who when we have systems that would be working in such a direction? Therefore,
as an uncle, it's within his right.
But the business of leadership in Dama is not about uncle, father, or mother, or brother, or relative. It's a matter of national interest. So, unfortunately, what saddens me is that even the people you expect to be looking at these things in a positive and direct way, they always shy away. Why? I have told you two things. Poverty is biting a lot of people. Poverty is biting a lot of people. As a community leader, I know this one. In this Ramadan alone, I have seen. I did receive people writing to me, seeking for food support from institutions I would not expect at all. And I was shocked. Up now, sometimes I sit down and say, is it true? And then when you go deep, those of us who don't just look at things on the surface, you begin to realize, yes, it is. Two, apart from poverty and its attendant whatever issues, look at what is happening. You see, yesterday I was surprised. The whole day I did not know that there was some strike of some sort by businessmen until I listened to news after I had come out of Tarawih prayers at 10 o'clock. And I was, how does all this, because I was in my office from 8 in the morning up to almost 11, attending to people because of Eid coming.
Right.
Okay? So, but what shows me that we have a bigger problem is people like you, people like Honorable Asimwe, who you expect to be better off, also coming to whisper to you. Or you receive a telephone call from a very important person, and it tells you that, you know what, that is ABCD. So with poverty, with people incarcerated for so many years, without traces, without appearing in court, or with people who are not supposed to be in a military court, are taken to a court martial.
There's fear.
Then, what you are sure of is fear must be roaming over everybody.
Well, Honorable Asimwe, as we take a break, there is a school of thought from analysts that this is more of a political gamble to help Besigye raise his ratings. What if it pays off?
First, Simon, I'd first correct the Imam Kasuzi that General Salim Saleh is a presidential advisor to the president on military matters, and is a member of the High Command. So there is nothing wrong in the president delegating him the duty of handing over power. I mean, seeing a change of leadership in the military. So, because he's an advisor on military matters. I was informing you on that. Now, back to the question. I don't think Besigye's decision to come back into active politics or activism it's not a gamble. It's well calculated because he has seen how those that he trusted that would take on his vision in opposing or trying to unseat NRM have possibly failed. Because anyway, they have failed. Because if they are fighting themselves or amongst themselves, if you look at all the political parties that right now we have on the scene, FDC is disintegrating. NUP has so much of a challenge that they have not even resolved. We don't know how it will end. And I think he thinks that he's coming back on the scene. There are two issues. First is keep the activism moving, keep the opposition on its course, because without him in the picture, possibly there is no other uniting factor in opposition that can bring back the opposing forces to line. But I believe his comeback is well calculated, and I believe it's not, Besigye is not alone, or it's not his personal decision. It's a decision of individuals who believe that he's a uniting factor that can bring all these forces of change.
Yeah, but it's more or less covered in trying to revive the spirit of the Forum for Democratic Change.
I don't think it has a lot to do with FDC.
You
It
think
has a
that's a
lot to
guise?
do with the entire opposition to NRM or to President Museveni's leadership. It has little to do with FDC, because clearly on the FDC, on the ground of, if you look at the grounds of FDC, Besigye has clearly failed on managing his transition from FDC, or his transition from the individual who found FDC to a force that can take on opposition. So I believe Besigye is back on the scene to help the opposition forces, or forces that are opposed to Museveni's leadership, to put them back to form, to prepare for 2026. Because right now, if you observe, all the forces those forces that are pushing for change, they're right now concentrated on internal squabbles within their parties, that they have forgotten that 2026 is actually next year, more or less. Because 2026 elections will start, we are starting campaigns next year in October. If there is no single political party that now we can trust that can outdo NRM, then what are they doing? That means there is no one on the scene. So Besigye's comeback is a well-calculated move to bring back the forces of change in line with 2026 vote. So I think it's not a gamble.
Well, when we return, we'll be looking at the confusing signals that Colonel Besigye is sending out. One, he has for years insisted that elections no longer matter in causing change in the country. Should we look at Besigye in the 2026 election mix amidst all the signals? That and much more after the break. Good morning. Welcome back. Still having a conversation on what lies ahead for Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, the face of defiance, as he launches a political comeback. He's been greeted by throngs of supporters across the country in places where he's been. He first went to the east. He's had a western leg in making stopovers in Rukungiri and other places. But fundamentally, is there a void anyway that Besigye is feeling?
As I've told you, it could be there. Honorable Asimwe says that, and also that a unifying factor. When he still had the muscle, it did not work out. That miracle did not work out as should have been expected. Or it worked out, and like maybe in 2016 or 2010, when he was maybe denied his victory. If you critically look at the trends.
2011, you mean?
I think so. But when you come back, that he himself, in 2016, he also lacked that muscle, the way he was pulled out of TDA. Whereas TDA was trying to act as a unifying factor or unifying force for all the opposition. I was there during broad daylight. Besigye was pulled out by younger people who came and pulled him out, and he also accepted. Meaning that at that also time, he played into the hands of political opportunists, if I can use the word. People who are fortune hunters, okay? People who can use you.
Or it was stage money?
No, it's people who can use you in order for them to attain political positions. Some of the problems in NUP today, some of us saw them immediately the merger was done or the formation was done, depending on the people who crossed over, whom you can say that in their heart of hearts, they were not pro Bob Wine. They are only using him as a vehicle because of the people power experience. They used him as a vehicle to get into the positions. What has occurred, to me, is not a surprise. It
was long coming.
Exactly, because, you know, when you look at things, we are seated here three. If we have been together for some time, and we meet here again, and we have some issue, intelligent people will always know who of the three, if we chose to say that if let us make one front, because we are three, the majority will be 2/1, or the whole three onto one person. Okay, but immediately you would know who of the three will ally. So if, for example, Imam Kasozi took the lead between Njala and Honorable Asimi, who would join Imam Kasozi? Or they would say, both of them discard and say, no, we are not going to, let us form ours, so that we keep him aside. That is exactly what I think is, which was predicted, but unfortunately, because we are struggling to remove the bigger burden, okay? Then with certain things, we keep them on side. True, politics is about interests, but strong politics is about principles. In a developed world, largely, politics is about principles. In a developing world and the underdeveloped, politics is about interests.
So which interests is Besigye serving now?
I cannot tell you that they are there. That's why, to me, I am really not optimistic alone. I am not very optimistic that Besigye will change the tide to effectively weaken President Museveni or NRM.
Okay, there was once an attempt towards forging a united forces of change. So does Besigye's comeback to the political front line in a way render the united forces of change redundant, or it's a vote of no confidence in efforts to unite the opposition?
You know, if you look at history, during the time of Honorable Mugisha Muntu, and when he competed with Power, okay, very few people expected Power to take over from Mugisha Muntu in view of what Mugisha Muntu stood for. But somehow, Honorable Besigye, or Kano Besigye, somehow, he became relatively indifferent, but largely inclined towards Power. And I'm very sincere, he's one of those that have been betrayed by the Power Nandara Mafawi faction. Okay? You remember at a given time, Nandara Mafawi was also more at Katonga. What changed that makes him move like that? Therefore, that's why for me, I am always not a pessimist. But in this venture, in the whole of this venture, I don't see. I know, having studied and followed the tricks of NRM, it will be in between both of these two groups.
Okay, does
Besigye's
return in a way rattle or affect the odds for NUP?
The odds for NUP have already been affected by NUP itself. It is written in the wall. It is saying, unless in the next 8 months that are left to complete this year, there is a serious transformation and the way they look at things. If they don't look at things differently and they want to take them in the spirit they are pushing them, I'm telling you that will happen. Two, many members of parliament, especially the first timers in parliament, those who are there for the first time, and are struggling to maintain their seats, may take a different direction. Okay? The angle they are going to make may be a surprise one. Many people may be expecting a 45, it may be a 90, or it may even be a 180 angle, which will surprise very many people. Out there, the population is tired. They would wish to see some change. But unfortunately, they would be leaders. We are not playing our part very well. Why? Because we have largely concentrated on acquiring positions rather than directing people to the direction where we want to be.
How much do you read into the crowds that are enthusiastically welcoming Besigye wherever he goes?
Those crowds have always been there. They have supported him before he was active. I mean, when he was active, and even now.
So he still has a magnet?
Yes, of course he has. Because he credibly led the forces of change when he was active. So he left a clean record. And besides, I don't think even Besigye had left. I don't even think it's right for us to keep saying he has come back. No, he has been on the scene.
Well, he says he's back now in the trenches.
Possibly, but then when you say you're back and then you're not going to be on the ballot, those two do not match. Being back, he has always been active, but quietly. He has been very active in trying to reconcile the forces in FDC. He has been trying to tell them, let's try to unite and have a united opposition. So for me, he has not been very far from trying to cause change in this country. But, well...
Is he being dishonest now in saying, I'm back, but I will not be on the ballot?
No, as a politician, he must find an entry point. He must have a theme for his entry. He must create a situation that, yes, I must be felt. I need to be felt. There's a reason to feel me. So I think he's as a politician and an activist, he cultivated his words very well. You can see now we are here discussing him and other factors that have rose after his visit in those districts. So for me, what he's doing is right, to support, to keep what he started until possibly to keep the candle burning on opposition.
To what extent is he a spoiler in the
Absolutely game? Is a spoiler because he knows that NUP right now, they are the ones who have had, who are the leading opposition party. FDC is disintegrated. I don't see, based on the ballot, making a bigger change or trying to be on the ballot box thinking that they can outdo NRM or they can defeat President Yoweri Museveni, because anyway he's our preferred candidate 2026 and beyond according to the resolutions of NEC. SEC. So I don't see him expecting to win. And he very well knows that him being on the ballot will actually affect the majority opposition party. That is no. For now, that's what I'm looking at. He knows it very well.
Do you think Bobi Wine has held why I cannot politics?
Why I was saying NRM should not underrate his comeback. In the remaining days, yes, he has started the process of opposition fighting for a seat for 2026. If he succeeds at uniting all the forces, and possibly they can formulate a vehicle for 2026, as all the political parties that are opposed to NRM, if they can form a vehicle for 2026, yes, he will have succeeded with comeback.
He's now testing the waters?
Certainly. To me, that any right-thinking person should be looking at that. If Besigye can succeed at getting NUP, DP, and all these small parties.
The disgruntled or the mainstreams?
All of them. All the forces of change, all the forces that want Museveni out of power. If he can succeed at getting them on the one table and they say, okay, Mr. Besigye, we tried our best and we failed, and here we think you can be our torch bearer for 2026, I think he will have succeeded first on what he has always fought for since I think 1999 when he left NRM. I think he will have succeeded. But if he doesn't, then he will be a spoiler.
Do you think a Besigye who's been bruised for the past 20 years and who stepped down at a time where there were a number of voices branding him as a weak political personality, can now be a uniting force for the opposition?
You know, it all depends on what people are anticipating. And him coming back, probably, you know, we are people who are in the top enclave, and they are against NRM, are more likely to party with Besigye than Bob Wine. People who are poor, disgruntled, jobless, surviving, are not likely to be with Besigye.
They are inclined towards.
Kyagulanyi and his team, and the appeal they make are more attractive to them. Not because they want to make any critical change, no, because they satisfy them in the short run. That's why people who have greater ideas and they want to build on those ideas are not appealing to the Ugandan population. People like General Mugisha Muntu. They don't appeal except to a very few people who are sincere and are looking at the country first than
do you think Kyagulanyi is still as magnetic as he was 3 years ago?
Not very much, to me, not very much. He has not lost all of it, but not very much. You can see it because of this simple thing that occurred between Mpuga and him. If you are reading the trends, it tells it is self-telling. It is really self-telling. Look how many people from the upper class, if I can borrow the word, are looking at the way things the majority of the young Turks and the disprivileged people whom we call the masses or the Juakalis.
So Besigye resonates with the elites.
Somehow, those who think that really...
Bobby resonates with the downtrodden.
Yes.
So which force counts now?
That ought to be. But none of the two have the muscle to stand hostile tides. None of those two groups has the muscle to stand the hard tide.
So now that the two giants seem to be now on the ground, should we be hysterical about 2026 and what might come out?
You see, we are talking as if we are in a normal situation. Ugandan politics and Ugandan elections have never been normal. Whether it is 1961-62, whether it is 1980, whether it is over the period from 1996 up to date. It is only those who are short-sighted that think it is normal. We are sure many of these chairmen for Electoral Commission have announced results they themselves don't believe in. But because of the adage which says that the one who is more powerful will use the stick you are holding and beat you, or he will kill your father, marry your mother, and you call him father.
Well, when you look at the key players from the opposition, do you think Besigye could be standing alone. Apparently, the tide seems to be now favoring Noop, that seems to be having more heavyweights.
No, I don't think Besigye is alone. I can guarantee you that Besigye's return is a well-calculated move, or it has grounds at least for his return. And we must give it a few months, then we can answer the question whether he's alone or not, or whether the tides in the strong characters in opposition will stay with with Noop. Chances are that actually the disgruntled forces within all these opposition parties are likely to join Mr. Besigye should he decide to be on the ballot 2026. Because most of them are, I would say, he has mentored them, he has worked with them. I believe they appreciate how he has been doing things, and they were only taken away from him by the wave. But chances are that 2026 may not have another wave. So what will happen? These forces of change will find a home. So that's why I'm insisting. The best way to analyze Besigye's comeback is after he has succeeded at uniting all the forces that are opposed to this government. If he fails, then his comeback will be rated as a failing or as a spoiler, because certainly if he does not, if he had stayed where he had been and said, okay, I'm out of the activism, let me try to support those who are now active, like Honorable Kyagulanyi and others, I think he would have done better. But if he has now decided to come back into activism, the best he can do is to unite all these forces and have one candidate. But at worst, he should not stand. But if he stands...
In his current form,
then,
coming from the background of a party that has been hugely divided, do you think Besigye would give Museveni a run for his money if he stood in 2026?
He can't. He can't. Only if...
Or it's too early to wish him?
No. Besigye cannot have... You see, it's more of numbers. His run for his money, based on which support base? The 4.5
he has his
million
traditional 3.5.
The 3.5 plus others who are like a million, that is 4.5 million voters who do not believe in the NRM ideologies and leadership style. I believe they can only be effective if they are united under one leadership. But for as long as they are divided, we have Besigye as a candidate, we have Honorable Kyagulanyi as a candidate, we have, of course, certainly DP now is under NRM UPC. I don't see any impact. The win will be determined at the very moment those two are on the ballot.
Let's look at the political math as we sign out. Traditionally, Besigye has been oscillating between 3.5, thereabout, and 3.6, thereabout. Do you think he still has the numbers on his side?
You see, those numbers, much as are recorded, are not true. These are numbers predetermined. If they want to humiliate him the way it was done to Mbabazi or some other people, he would even get 1%. While in the real terms of voting, he can get the 3.5 million or even 4. But if they want to humiliate him, he can get 1.5.
So you want to say the numbers are manufactured?
Everybody sees it.
No, that's also not
Everybody sees it. If you want to know, if you are when results are being returned, okay, look at what script do Electoral Commission read from? Do they read from what has come from the district?
Imam, was also your vote manufactured?
Which vote?
Who did you vote? You didn't vote? You want to say you didn't vote?
I voted.
So who did you vote?
For which proposition?
No, for the presidency.
Why bother myself now?
My question is,
what I'm sure of,
is
I
your
did not
vote manufactured?
President
Was your
Museveni.
vote also manufactured? Or it was counted?
What I'm sure of, I did not vote President Museveni.
But you voted.
That I'm sure.
Thank
Yes,
you so
I
much.
did.
Thank you so much. You never voted President Museveni.
No.
But whoever you voted, plus others, you form a block of 4.5 million voters. And those who voted NRM, including myself,
for starters,
we form a block of 6 million votes.
I have not only participated in the votes only just by voting, but I have also participated in overseeing how it moves.
So how do you
From
then,
1996.
my question.
Okay. As we get out of here,
I wanted to ask
think
Imam.
that's a little diversion.
If he voted, I also voted. He never voted Museveni, I voted
and-
Museveni.
and I
our votes were counted.
And
On what basis does he have, on what does he base
And
on
I
to
would
say
like
that
to advise you, as a
the
student
results are
of
manufactured?
demography, specialized in population, I know that the register, the Ugandan register, okay,
Voter
voters register is not correct.
But you participated.
Depending, yes, depending.
So why did you
in
participate
terms
in it
of our population structure?
We can end this conversation here, but do you think the country is reading too much into Besigye's pronouncement, or it's just politics as usual?
It's politics as usual. As the activist he has been, the politician that he has been, the leader that he has been in under FDC.
Nothing groundbreaking.
Any activity or any action must be interpreted. I think that's why we are here, to interpret his action, because he's not somebody you can just underrate. Besides me being NRM and him being FDC, I can honestly say he has done his part. He has tried to mobilize forces to create change. But the circumstances have not actually favored him. So I wouldn't want to underrate him.
Yeah.
Is it politics as usual, or there is a new dynamic now that we should watch?
It is politics as usual, but it has now been, I don't know which word to use, arrested, I think, by the recent changes that have taken place, both in the army and party and cabinet. Okay? It says it all, how it will happen, where it will
So what
be.
do we expect in the coming days? Running battles? Or?
If the opposition turns out to mobilize again, you will see them.
Which opposition?
That brings us to the end of the show. Many thanks to you, Honorable Enos Asimwe and Imam Id Kasozi, plus all our viewers out there. Let's continue engaging. What are the odds for or against Kano Kizza Besigye as he launches a comeback with a bang? Good morning.